When Jesus received the news of John the Baptist's death, he withdrew by boat to a lonely place where they could be by themselves. But the people heard of this, and leaving the towns, went after him on foot. So as he stepped ashore, he saw a large crowd, and he took pity on them, and he healed their sick.
Behold the multitude. This is a desert place, and now the time's far past. Send them away that they may go into the villages and buy themselves bread. They have nothing to eat. Give ye them to eat.
Shall we go and buy 200 pennyworth of bread and give them to eat?
How many loaves have ye? 5 and 2 fishes. Bring them to me. Divide the people into companies of 50 that they might be fed. O Father, Lord of heaven and earth, I thank thee for thy bounties. Amen.
I love a good picnic, don't you? Doesn't need to be anything elaborate or grand, just a simple gathering with a few friends, preferably in a nice place. That's all it takes. Got lots of happy memories of picnics growing up, all sorts of them. Picnics with family, friends, sharing food, sharing good company. No, I love a good picnic. We used to have them as part of the parish life too, parish picnics. They were very relaxed, very impromptu sort of affairs. Somebody would say one Sunday, weather permitting, next Sunday we'll have a picnic. And anyone who wanted to go would just turn up. There'd be games organised to keep the children occupied. And they were great fun, and the adults always joined in with the games as well. Somebody would take a guitar and there'd be a bit of a sing-song. And then at some point, someone would break out some food. Everyone brought their own, but it didn't matter. Everybody shared. They were great fun, they were great afternoons, great days out, good company, simple food, entertainment, fellowship. I like to think that the feeding of the 5,000 was something like that. I know Jesus gathered the people, or the people gathered to hear Jesus speak, but Well, there was more to it than that. There was something that bound them, that united them. Just imagine the parents trying to keep the children quiet when Jesus was talking. Oh, shh, behave, people are trying to listen. But when Jesus started breaking bread and fish and feeding the people, then that was their time to talk to each other. They could let go of the reins on the children and let them run wild, and I'm sure they did. I'm sure while the parents were sitting eating bread and fish and chatting to each other about where they'd come from and who they were related to and what Jesus had been saying and what it all meant, I'm sure the children were running around squealing and laughing, making friends. It sounds like one giant picnic to me. I know it's more than just a picnic, especially the way Matthew writes it. Matthew uses his words carefully, and he intends us to see something of the Eucharist, something of the Last Supper in the gathering, the picnic that Jesus hosts, Jesus blesses. Especially when he takes the bread. Matthew uses the same words as he does at the Last Supper. Jesus took, blessed, broke, and gave. There was something of the Eucharist in this gathering. It was a giant picnic, but with Jesus at its heart and with the breaking of bread. Reminds me very much of the rare occasion when I was able to get to Mass in Africa. You had to walk a fair distance to get there, and it seemed to be in the middle of nowhere. And people just gathered. They drifted along and gathered, mostly in good time. And they sat under a giant tree to benefit from its shade. Some had come a distance, and some of the women would start to cook, to feed whoever needed fed, really. Again, people just shared. It was a communal thing. And as they sat and they waited, somebody would start singing a song and others would join in, and well, everyone would be chanting along with it. And that would be repeated. And people would chat to each other and catch up with each other and ask how their families were doing. And at some point, somebody would read the scriptures. And they'd talk about them. And they'd talk about them on the way home too. And if there was a priest there, well, the priest at some point would bless, break, and give the bread to the people. If there wasn't, well, they'd gathered with Christ at the heart of their gathering, and they'd shared food. They'd broken bread in a way. It was always Eucharistic. I wonder if we celebrated Mass more like a giant picnic, like the feeding of the 5,000, would we have a different attitude towards it? Would we look on it differently? I worry sometimes that the formal nature, the rigidity of the ritual, the prescription, the prescribed prayers that someone else composed for our benefit, but someone who didn't know us. The distinctive roles that are allotted to some and not to others. I think all of that focuses our attention too much in one direction, and we miss out on a great deal of what a celebration of Eucharist is meant to be about. A gathering of people with Christ at its heart, that remembers the stories and breaks bread. I hope we can rediscover something of that sense of community, that bond between us, bond that we celebrate, that we don't just know exists, but something we want to share in, that we don't just listen to one person sharing stories of Jesus, but we come prepared to share our own stories, not just where Jesus has been present 2,000 years ago when scriptures were written, but how Christ is present in our world, how Christ is present in the lives of each of us. Because that's the ongoing story that we celebrate. Maybe every Eucharist should be a giant picnic, where our attention is on Christ, where Christ is at its heart, but where we enjoy one another's company. We celebrate our belonging to one another, as well as to Christ. We listen to the stories, ancient and modern, and at some point, we break bread together.